Hello, hello, it's the one and only 5D Transformations. And in this video, we're going to talk about ISTPs versus INTPs. And what I love about this is we get to talk about similarities and differences, with the INTP and ISTP, they can look very similar because they both have introverted thinking first. So they generally have a very stoic nature. When you look at them, they generally look like very present. But the INTP, and they both can be soft-spoken, but they both actually have a side to them that is social. And that's where they can be very similar in the sense of, they love being around family, they love being around close people. And a lot of that is because they have introverted intuition. INTPs have extroverted intuition, but they both share extroverted feeling. They both have extroverted feeling. Now, what's funny about it is they both have it low. So these are the types that they're not the most emotional types. They both deal with difficulties of understanding their emotions. So that's why the people that they hold close to them really matter because, they generally have a pretty small circle, but they still need that connection. And that's one thing people got to understand. Just because you're a thinking dominant type, just because thinking is your first function, and even though you're not the most emotionally expressive, both of these types people think like can be unemotional at times, but these types feel deeply, and they really connect with people, and they need connection, right? But they generally like to keep a small group. They are both the types that don't like to be front and center stage. Now the ISTP is a little better with that because they do have that extroverted sensing that likes to be in the moment, that likes to take advantage of what is around them. They have that extroverted sensing. They want to go out and do something. They want to move. Like a lot of ISTPs are very good athletes. They're good with sports. They like to do physical activities. So, that's something that is very different from the INTP. The INTP is a lot more mental. They spend a lot of time in their mind. I mean, the INTP, out of all the types, they have a lot of idealism, but they have a logical idealism. Like Carl Jung is an INTP, and he made, he made this whole system, of understanding Jungian psychology, or, Jungian typology, and you realize INTPs have a very powerful mind because they have that extroverted intuition, so they can think of different ideas, but they have introverted thinking, and that introverted thinking allows them to be in a situation where when they get stuck in an idea, when they really want to understand something, they'll just follow that linear, like they're just doing that, and they're learning it, and they stick with it, and they begin to develop these new insights, and that's where their genius comes from. So, just to be clear, a big difference between the two is that INTPs are a lot more mental, a lot more intuitive, obviously. And so what you'll notice if you want to tell the difference between them is INTPs, they'll be more interested in talking about ideas. They will be wanting to do things like have conversation. They tell stories, and they're generally very inquisitive. But the difference you'll see with ISTPs are generally going to be more down to earth, like grounded on earth a little bit more, 2 feet on the ground, and they're not going to be big with too many ideas. So that's a big way you can tell is that INTPs are much more mental. ISTPs are much more physical. They want to go and do things. They, a lot of ISTPs are good with their hands. They like to be steadily working on different projects, and that's one thing that, you'll find as a difference. But a similarity that they both have is that they're workaholics. When you have introverted thinking as your first function, you're always troubleshooting and working on something. And that's what INTPs and ISTPs both do. But it's just that an ISTP might be, troubleshooting something like a car or, a building. A lot of them can be engineers. I mean, ISTPs can be all type of different things, but generally it's going to be something that requires them to look at sensory things and be involved with things that they can touch, taste, see, those type of things. Whereas the INTP is going to be much more, working on tasks that require mental power. That's their strength, is the mental side of it all. They're good with ideas, managing information, data analysis, and things like that. Like, they can do that. They are very practical. They like to make good decisions, but they INTPs have a dreamer. Like, INTP is a dreamer though. And that's something you'll find different. Like ISTPs are more so like, they're stoic and they're focused on delving deeper into learning about whatever it is that they're doing. INTPs tend to be more dreamy. Like they have that idealism, but then it's funny because they have this cold rational side as well. So they're constantly, they're having these ideas, but they also can be very critical, and that's one thing both types share. When you have introverted thinking as the first function, oh, look at that fire, or that thunder. You know what I'm saying? It's like that thunder. Like you're constantly, you could be critical, man. You could come into the environment and just be like, shake it apart because you're like, this needs to go here, this needs to do this. Like they can get into hypercritical situations. And that's where I recommend both types. Take it easy on yourself, both types can get stuck into overthinking. ISTPs can be very, picky when it comes to detail. They both are very detail oriented, but ISTPs are going to be very detail oriented when it comes to how things look. And just, both types honestly are very practical for the most part. One thing that you'll notice about introverted thinking in a way that I want you to look at it from a unique type of way, I guess, is it's linear. It's one at a time, one step at a time. It doesn't really want to take shortcuts. Shortcuts is more of a extroverted thinking thing. Introverted thinking is, it will take the long way because it wants to make sure that everything's being done right. So they can do things slow, but it's a steady growth. And they are just natural problem solvers. They're always trying to solve something, and their mind is constantly at work trying to solve things. But they both have an ability to relax and lay back. And what that comes from is the ISTP. It's about their environment, that when they can relax, be one with their senses, whether it's them stretching, working out, whatever it is to help them feel grounded in their environment, they need that time to themselves to recharge. Both types are introverts. Whereas INTPs, they need time to, look at their thoughts and get everything organized. They have extroverted intuition as a second function and introverted sense in third. So their mind is almost like a whirlwind. It's always a whirlwind, and they're bringing themselves back to being grounded. Like, all right, this is where I am now. Then the mind is floating, and then they come back to being grounded as an INTP, because INTPs constantly have to just stay grounded because, they have the ability to think about a lot of things, and they're really intelligent when it comes to really analyzing things. I mean, both of these types are really smart. Not to say any of the types aren't, but these are going to be your types that are generally going to be on the higher spectrum of, like, if you take an IQ test. Because introverted thinking is just, it's about being logical. And the difference between logical and rational, right? Logical is introverted thinking. Rational is extroverted thinking. So when we talk about introverted thinking, you'll notice a big difference is, like I said, being rational is ratios, it's division. That's why extroverted thinkers take shortcuts. They're like, all right, if I could do this and that, then I can get here quicker, right? Introverted thinking is 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 3 = 5. Like, it's following things linear. So because of that, sometimes, they can miss opportunities to do things more efficiently. And I guess that's where the stubborn side, like both types have an ability to be stubborn because they have that introverted thinking first. So once they choose a direction they want to go in, they're not going to really want to veer off of that. Even if you give them a better solution, sometimes they can be a little stubborn. Like, they don't want to change their perspective because that's what they said to do first, and they want to trust what they decided to do first. And so that's a great thing. That's what makes them good leaders and confident, and more so they go on their own path. They're like leaders that aren't trying to lead anybody. Both of these types, all right? But it can get them in trouble too, because sometimes they can be hard-headed and they got to learn those lessons. So, and both types have a hard time. I'd say this is the last thing for now. I'll do a part 2 another day. But one thing about both types is they deal with struggles when it comes to dealing with people. Both types have to learn how to work with people and learn how to blend in and fit in because, a lot of the time they can feel emotionally disconnected. A lot of the time they don't have, the feeling types are the types that are the ones moving the room and they're all sociable and everybody likes them. And introverted thinkers can be, once again, very stoic, and it can be just like, all right, I don't really feel like having to exert all this energy to get to know everybody. So they both can deal with that. But what's funny about both types is they're very gravitational. People just come to them because people like them. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. And I think, that's one thing that's special about them. Like they deal, but they are gonna have struggles. You are gonna have to learn how to tap into your emotions more, how to value other people more, because you can be very independent. So it's important to value teamwork because you can only do so much on your own. And what you'll find is the more that you get comfortable, leveraging your tasks and working with people, you're gonna actually realize that you actually enjoy it, and because you do have that social side, and that's what I want to tell them out there, the INTPs and ISTPs. Even though you generally are known as one of the most unsocial types in terms of not being necessarily the most vocal at creating friendships and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you end up leading out your own path. And that's one thing with INTPs and ISTPs. They're brilliant types, and they actually are very likable, and they end up having great friend groups because that extroverted feeling is fourth. You still have this natural thing within you that wants to give people a good experience. And that's what makes you a good person and somebody that people like to be around, because you do have that side, that sympathetic side where you want to make sure people are okay. And so a lot of the time you'll work your butt off to make sure the people around you are okay. And one thing I'll say, both types can be very giving types. INTPs especially are known for, sacrificing for family, because family is very big. For both types, but especially INTPs, family is a big thing for them because, they have that extroverted intuition. They're constantly thinking about different ideas. So when you have extroverted intuition and extroverted feeling together, so you're thinking of ideas about the people around you, thinking about ideas, but you have that people element. You're still having ideas about the people that you care about and making sure that you're organizing that. And so that's a big thing. And it can be hard for both types because sometimes people will be like, yo, you never call me. You're always isolated. Do you care about me? So both types can be ghosts for a little while. They're the types that they need their time to recharge and really regroup. But once they get back, they're ready to have some fun. And both types are very fun types. ISTPs have that extroverted sensing. They want to go out and experience things and try different things and see different things and taste different things. And then INTPs love to go out and get inspired because it triggers their mind and they get new ideas about different things. So, just try to embrace the fun. I understand both types are very much about duty, and both types are very much about fulfilling obligations. But I want you to know it's important to still value your personal, well-being. Because introverted feeling is both of the INTP and the ISTP. Introverted feeling is your last function. And introverted feeling is all about, how do I feel? Am I feeling good? Am I taking care of myself in terms of how I feel? And both types can get caught in situations where they're so self-sacrificing and they don't care how they feel. And then at the end, that's how you end up getting scenarios where you can be depressed or, feel alone. So it's very important that you always make it a habit to say, okay, it's been a week or two, let me do something with my friends just to get that recharge. And both types don't need too much. They don't need to party all weekend. They just need one little good night out with a friend and we're good. And I got what I needed out. So make sure you prioritize that. And that's my message to you, man. I just wanted to give a comparison for both, INTPs and ISTPs. And, make sure to get the MBTI course. It's out now. Very, very powerful course. I break down each type. I show you the comparisons, the celebrities, explain to you what the type does, the good and bad aspects of, or how you are at your best and how are you when you're in the grip, when you're in your worst situation as your type. And we also talk about your hidden power and in the gift that you have with your type. So it's designed to give you extra information so you can really seize the power of your type. And guess what? I explain the deep aspects of how I understand MBTI, and I talk about all 16 types. So you can learn about your type. And if you want to really learn about all the types, you can watch all the types. So come on, there's jam-packed value in there. Make sure to get it while the price is still what it is. And aside from that, man, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to bring the subscribers up so I can do some live streams. So please spread the word, help a brother out, man. I'm trying to grow the channel. So aside from that, I'm going to see y'all later. It's the one and only 5D Transformations. See y'all on the flip side. Peace.